Hi, this is Gene at DNS, and this report is current as of Friday the 14th here. The water continues to warm up on the chain up here on Lake Mendota. The water's finally warming up into the mid to upper 60s, mid 60s for sure, upper 60s in the afternoons. Not a lot of bluegill spawning activity yet on Mendota. A little bit some guys are finding, but for the most part, most of that spawning activity is on the southern lakes. Up here on Mendota, the smallmouth have been active. They're done spawning, I would say, for the most part. They've been active out on the bars, Dunn's Bar, Brearley Bar, even out on Second Point. And they've been using live bait and plastics with some good success on those fish. They seem to be in the 12, 14 foot of water area, seems to be where some of the best action is. And as far as catfish action, that seems to still be pretty decent up in the north end of the lake. But they are starting to catch them around the lake now. Governor's Island, there's guys catching cats out there. And I'm sure they're going to start catching them off Tenney Park, the guys fishing from shore over there too. Perch action up here on Lake Mendota. I've heard a little bit through the grapevine as far as some fish on the weed line. I was out yesterday myself looking around, and I didn't find anything that looked real promising yet, but things can change real fast. The water's still clear out to 12 feet of water or so out to the weed line, and the weed lines aren't real defined yet, so there's not a lot of good cover, and the water's clear at that depth, so it makes it a little more difficult to get those perch to go. But that can change in a week with the water warming up the way it is. Things can really start to pick up. Over on Lake Monona, a lot of bluegill spawning activity. That lake has fish spawning in lots of areas, from Obrick Park all the way over to B.B. Clark Beach on that north shore. There's a lot of good areas in there to look for bluegills. And again, the other way from the Madison Business Association over there on the east shore all the way around over to Squaw Bay, the south shore, Squaw Bay, Turville Point, Turville Bay, and over from Turville Point to Olin Park, all good areas to look for bluegill spawning activity. Crappie still somewhat active out on the weed lines in that 10, 12 foot of water. And the muskie guys seem to think that the fish are kind of following still. They aren't really catching a lot of them, but they are seeing some fish and enough to keep them interested. And the largemouth bass, I'm sure, are pretty much done spawning now, and they have moved out to the weeds and the weed lines. On Lake Waubesa, that's pretty much the same thing. The water temperatures are pushing that 70-degree area. The bluegills are in full spawn. Up there at Hog Island and Goodland Park, Christie's, over by Babcock and Rockford Heights and down by the Bible Camp, all good areas to look for some bluegill activity. The crappies are still going out on the deeper weed lines over off Christie's and Goodland and out in front of Babcock. And I haven't heard a lot of muskie action on Waubesa, but I have heard some guys taking a few walleyes, doing some mid-lake trolling out there. And the same on Kegonsa, a few walleyes starting to show up out there in mid-lake. And I have heard some bluegill spawning activity on Kegonsa, but not a lot. And I have heard a few guys going up the river up into Mud Lake and finding some bluegills up in there too. I think really that's about all I have locally. A little side note, want to make sure you keep your trailers clean and the lake water out of your live wells and stuff when you're leaving or approaching the boat landings, because they are starting to enforce some of those rules around town. I talked to a couple guys that ran into the weed police the other day over at Olin Park, and you can get into a little bit of trouble with some pretty sizable tickets if you don't keep that weeds off of there. That's about it for right now, so we'll talk to you later. If you want to use, you're on the road, you can definitely call our hotline, 608-244-3474. That spells Big Fish. If you got anything you want to offer, you can call me at the store here at 608-241-4225, or please feel free to post it on the Fishing Report board here. It'd be nice to see some of you guys starting to use that. Somebody besides myself putting stuff up here would be pretty fun. Talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.